If the idea of a winter adventure where you can learn traditional knowledge from the Inuit while immersing yourself in one of the most unforgiving climates on Earth excites you, then you'll want to check out Puvirnituq. Located in the Nunavik region of the Inuit Nunangat on the eastern coast of Hudson Bay, Puvirnituq is part of Quebec's Far North. I traveled to Puvirnituq with Inuit Adventures, a company that promotes responsible tourism in Nunavik by working with and for local Inuit guides in building experiences that respect and preserve the natural environment and the integrity and independence of communities. There were so many unforgettable educational experiences on this trip. I'll highlight some of my favorite moments, but do check out the description below for additional information and further reading. While this northern community with a population of just over 1,000 is not accessible by roads, it is the hub of the Hudson Coast, with its airport serving as a gateway to more Inuit communities. In and around town, people travel mostly by snowmobile, but the tradition of dog sledding is alive. We met ṕᕕᕐनिતુᖅ, also known as Peter Boy, a celebrated soapstone carver and competitive dog sledder. He and his son Eric are top competitors in Igloo, an annual dog sledding competition in Nunavik that involves covering a distance of 275 miles within a week. I've been dog sledding before, but the experience of dog sledding the traditional way near the place of origin was incredible. We also learned about the dark history of what the government did to the Huskies and the vital role that sled dogs play for the Inuit. The sled dogs were not just working companions, but considered family members. It was great to learn that the sled dog population is continuing to grow because of the efforts of the community and events like Igloo. Dog sledding is not only an essential way to get around up here in the far north, but the key to the survival of the Inuit, their culture, and nomadic lifestyle. While our home base for this trip was the Puvirnituq Co-op Hotel, the plan was to head out onto the frozen bay and camp out in an igloo. Even though I packed all the stuff I usually wear for winter camping, I was glad that Inuit Adventures outfitted us with way more intense winter gear. It's no wonder that travel in this region is not for the inexperienced. The endless, bleak white landscapes stretch on for miles. The weather was constantly changing and unpredictable. A snowstorm out here is no joke, given the intense winds that come out of nowhere. The highlight of this trip for me was not only getting to stay in an igloo, but learning how to build one entirely from scratch in these harsh conditions alongside the elders of Puvirnituq. Peter Boy and his brother Inuit showed us how to scope out the perfect spot, the ideal type of snow to use for snow blocks, which could weigh up to 50 pounds each, the technique involved in cutting the blocks and even handling the blocks, which would fall apart and crumble away in our hands if not carried around correctly, and the strategic placement of each block. Peter, who was born in an igloo in the middle of winter, talked about how the skill of being able to build one saved his life and when he was caught out in a snowstorm. He also talked about the importance of transferring these skills to the younger generation. I've winter camped in Quincy's before, but spending the night in a real igloo that we helped build in the middle of Quebec's Arctic and waking up to the glow of daybreak barely streaming through the frozen walls will be an experience I'll never forget. While some of us helped with the igloo, Peter Boy's son Eric worked on dinner and showed us how to go ice fishing the Inuit way. No huts, no heaters, no gas power augers. I remember taking cover from the freezing winds and just watching in awe the rate that Eric was catching fish. The fresh fish that were caught were used for our fish stew that night and to feed the dogs. Ice fishing was another essential skill, as you can imagine the costs involved for flying out enough dog food to feed an entire athletic sled team. The next day, when we headed back into town, we were warmly invited to a community feast celebrating the recent dog sledding competition. Held at the local gymnasium, families enjoyed caribou, seal, and fish together. This was another amazing experience in getting to learn about the food, the traditional utensils, and meeting members of the community. During our last night in Puvirnituq, we enjoyed a special throat singing performance and learned about its history and use in storytelling. As someone non-Indigenous who's interested in the important truth and reconciliation work in Canada, this trip with Inuit Adventures furthered my knowledge and understanding of this Inuit community's culture and history. I'm so grateful to have been invited along this unforgettable trip, and I thank the Puvirnituq community for sharing their wisdom and stories. This trip presented so many immersive experiences to learn about Inuit history, culture, food, and the environment beyond what you can read about in books. It was unlike any other travel experiences and beyond activity-based adventure. Check out Puvirnituq in winter or during the summer in Nunavik, Quebec's Far North.